All right, it's Monday on Daily Delivery. I'm Michael Rand, Patrick Reusse with me as always. Patrick, I had a friend of mine texted me, I think it was yesterday. It must have been yesterday night after the sports weekend here that we had, where Gophers come back and win from double digits down. Vikings come back from double digits down to win. Gopher hockey teams both swept. Volleyball team got a pair of wins. The Wolves won Saturday at least. So Saturday and Sunday, not much went wrong. I think he even said no other wild forwards got injured because there was no games, of course, this weekend. But about as good as it gets if you are living here right now. Although some drama along the way. So I guess that'll be the theme of our show is some good stuff for Minnesota sports, but definitely some drama along the way. We got to start with the Vikings in that regard, Patrick. It's like the same thing every week. This one was a little bit different. The official, the referee runs into Cam Bynum and basically prevents what would have been an interception. Seems like that would have been that was the turning point of the game. It should have been. It was one of those games where finally it was like, okay, things just aren't going their way, and then in the end they still went their way.
Yeah, they did get one bad break from the officials there, but it's probably the first bad break they've had in 8 weeks or 9 weeks. What are they? 7-1. So
yeah.
They've been an awfully fortunate team to this point, and that was weird to say the least. The Tyler Hokanson, the Hokanson screen pass was an interesting situation. They kept throwing it, even though they lost 8 yards on 3 plays or something. So they had their moments, and then they came back and won as they usually do. Now, as much of a negative as the official was on that play, the Ron Rivera made up for it with some of his idiotic decisions. Didn't you think that? So
yes.
The Commanders weren't exactly bright down the stretch, to say the least. And big concern would be the right guard getting run over all day long at Ingram, and they not being able to run the ball at all against the Commies defensive line. But yeah, it's another win. And when you look around and see that the Buffalo Bills don't have as good a record as they do, and who are considered probably the Super Bowl favorites, and the Chiefs don't have as good a record as they do. They got the second best record in football. So not much to complain about. And they've been great. They've been great in the fourth quarter. I say the same thing every week. The NFL, 6 minutes to go, 75% of the time, you don't know who's going to win. And it's always been them. They've owned the last 6 minutes. So you can't complain, I guess.
No, I got an email from Tom Shea. He's a avid listener of the podcast, especially the Monday segment. I want to get to that right away because it says, "Good evening, Michael. You wrote this last night. Continue to look forward to and enjoy the daily delivery and your print column. My observation of the 2022 Vikings is they remind me of the early Bud Grant teams, sometimes ugly, oftentimes apparently lucky, always responsive to whatever is required to win a game, particularly game and time management. I am the same vintage as your Monday podcast partner, and I would be interested if Patrick shares this comparison. Keep up the good work."
I think we've actually brought that up a couple of times. It does remind us of some of Bud's games. Now it was such a different game then. Each team had about 8 plays, and the idea that if you threw the idea if you throw an interception is not going to kill you with this team. People have become so paranoid about interceptions, but Bud's defenses were always, when Bud's teams came back and won games, it was because the defense absolutely kept them in the game, much like yesterday, and their offense was really spotty. Especially 70 and 71 when they didn't have a quarterback. And that was those are probably the best comparisons those 2 years. I think we brought that up last week. 71 was, we looked it up, they were 12-2 or 11-3 or something. And they had a terrible offense. This is not a terrible offense. This is just they have some terrible games like yesterday for most of the game, but and I would never put this defense in the same class. But yeah, it is similar that the game has changed so much in 50 years that it's hard to make the comparison. But certainly when the game's over, the feeling of full satisfaction was not there with Bunstein a lot of times either. That's kind of the there were probably in a 12-2 season about 4 or 5 times you said, how the hell did they win that game?
Sure.
And that's going to probably be the same situation this time. But I'd have to go back and look at Bud's schedule. But I would say, one advantage these guys have had is the teams are playing the NFC is so mediocre right now. And then when they had to go play Miami, they got to play a third team quarterback. So, so that's another one. I can't remember if the Vikings got that kind of break, where they were playing a pretty good team and the team didn't have its quarterback. I can't remember that, but yeah, it's not an outrageous comparison. That's for sure.
And then you see too, Josh Allen hurt his elbow a little bit in yesterday's game, so we'll see how if they catch another break there, whether he's playing but not fully healthy, or if he's not able to play in that game.
Who is the backup there? I don't even know.
Case Keenum, baby. Case Keenum.
Our guy Case. Okay.
Yep.
Well, yeah. Now, that would be the. You just get this feeling they're going to now go 15-2 and end up with the second seed, have to play a home game, and everything's going to go wrong, and they're going to get beat by 7 seed. You get that impression that the football gods can't keep being this kind to them, but we'll see. I mean, Cousins has certainly changed Cousins' image with the Viking fans, hasn't it? He's being taunted by the Washington fans, and he comes back and wins anyway. So,
did you see? I mean, he's the new thing now is he wears the chains of his teammates after the game, and yesterday he was shirtless, wearing all of his teammates' chains on the team plane, and it's just getting progressively more less clothing for Kirk on these flights home. I'm a little worried what would happen if they actually won a playoff game, if it would be like an NC-17 rating on the video they released. But you're right. The image change of Kirk Cousins right now is pretty amazing, just in terms of where he was. Everything in 2021 with the COVID stuff, and just nobody liking him, and now he's 7-1, and he's even just last week he said, I drive home after a game and I'm like, I didn't play my best. Thank goodness for the defense. Thank goodness he's not having his best year, but they're winning, so he's got to feel pretty good too.
And Hunter joined the party yesterday. That had to be kind of fun to see, because he had 2 sacks and finally did something. And I'm not sure if that was the, I on another podcast yesterday, not last week, on Friday, I said that, that the Vikings are going to win, that the Commanders couldn't beat them because they couldn't score over 17 points, because they even when they were winning, they weren't winning any games, and you couldn't beat this Vikings team. And I said that if I had the money, I would bet $100,000 on the Vikings. And I'm hoping I said that was on the money line. just to win the game. I think I was saying just to win the game, I would have bet $100,000 on it. And the reason I thought they were going to win came to fruition, that Washington just has a terrible offense. So that was part of it too. But hey, 7-1, what the heck? And Philadelphia wasn't mighty on Thursday. They're gonna lose a couple of games before it's over. So what the heck? If you keep sneaking them out, you might even end up being the number 1 seed and not have to play the first week.
Yeah, now the schedule does get tougher. They got to go to Buffalo.
We keep saying that though, and it doesn't get tougher. It never gets tougher. Now, if Josh Allen doesn't play,
that's true. That's true.
I
think they go Buffalo, Dallas, New England after this. So it's at least it's more than some of these teams have been saying. But
two of
your
those
point,
are at home, all right.
two of those are at home, and your point's a good one. Like we keep saying things are going to get harder. We keep saying they can't keep winning like this, and then they keep winning like this. They keep winning on the margins. I think I saw a stat the other day, or like one of those little like graphs that show like how a team is on offense and defense, and they're basically the same in terms of overall strength. They're basically the same team as the Saints, and the Saints are 3-5. In terms of
and the Rams are 3-5. Explain that to me. The Rams are 5, and they're Super Bowl champs, and they didn't lose that many players. So, and the Rams are and listen. Here's the other thing. 2 of those 3 are at home. You get Buffalo, and then in the last part of the schedule, you get to play the dead Packers, the dead Bears, and the dead Lions. You got those 3 games left in your pocket. They can't win less than 13 games now, I would say.
Take a playcation to Mystic Lake. With 24/7 gaming, the good times never have to end. And you can satisfy your cravings at our restaurants and bars. Or relax in one of our luxurious hotel rooms. Those that play together, stay together. And don't forget to join Club M so you can spark new memories and bask in the rewards along the way. Follow the lights to Mystic Lake, where every day is play day.
Well, that's the amazing thing. The Packers. I mean, let's spend a minute on that before we move on.
Packed it in.
Do you see Rodgers? I mean, they've had a lot of problems this year, but Rodgers throwing 3 interceptions deep in Detroit territory yesterday, including 2 of them inside the 5. I've never seen him do that. I mean, the one bounced off a guy's helmet, fine, but the one that he just underthrew to David Bakhtiari, by the way, I don't know why that's your featured play on 4th and 1.
Then he got hurt
again. 5 yards.
Bakhtiari got hurt again.
Yes.
But the drives that they had, I heard it. I didn't look it up. I heard it that they had like an 80-yard drive and a 60-yard drive.
Yeah.
And they got no points out of it because he threw interceptions. If I was them, I would say Aaron is taking the rest of the season off, and we're going to see what we got in Jordan Love and then make a decision. But they probably don't have the guts to do that. But they might as well pack it in. They might as well start trying to get a good draft choice, don't you think?
It's amazing, and it's amazing to think too. They were 3-1. They were 3-1 at one point this year.
Yeah, they lost 5 in a row. He hadn't lost to Detroit in what? How many times in a row? Isn't that the team he said I own you or something?
Yeah, they own it. They own the division a lot since he got there, and it's unbelievable to watch. And you called at the beginning of the season. You said he doesn't look the same. He's just coming back to the money. You called the Devontae Adams was the driver of all this. No, a lot of things have gone wrong for them too. And I think you lose Devontae and you lose Valdez-Scantling, who is not a top receiver, but that was a sneaky departure for them. They just don't have anybody to throw the ball to, and it's unbelievable to watch. Though a guy that was the MVP the last 2 years, right, is just completely fallen off the map.
Yep, yeah, and I thought they were gonna. I think I said 7-10 or something like that early in the year, but they won't win 7. There's they're way worse than I thought they were going to be. That's because they thought they were going to have a good defense, defense, all these draft choices. Plus, they had about 5 more guys hurt yesterday too. So
yes, they did.
They're going to stop playing them. So yeah, it's the Bears and the Lions are both going to be more dangerous than the Packers the last part of the season. So,
Fields ran for like 180 yards yesterday.
Now, you know how weird this season is, though. The Seattle Seahawks are the Titans of the AFC West. NFC West. How can that be? It is really a weird season. Did you think if you have to play the Seahawks in the second round of the playoffs that they'd scare you with Geno? No. I don't care what they're doing with Geno Smith as the quarterback. They were rebuilding. They were getting rid of everybody. Yep. And they're winning the division. So it's really weird. It is strange out there right now. I was looking at NFL games yesterday after the after the Vikings were done to see
Yep.
what I wanted to watch. There was nothing I wanted to watch.
No.
Their games are terrible.
Nobody
But
can score. Nobody's scoring this year. Like all the defenses are playing these kind of like two deep shells, and everybody's like daring you to throw it over, take the short gains. And so all these drives are like 15 plays, and it's fine. But it creates this tremendous sense of parity in the league. And if you can play well in the fourth quarter, which the Vikings have done basically 6 weeks in a row. I mean, remember they were 1-1 and trailing by 2 scores to Detroit in week 3.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden here they are.
Yeah, and O'Connell definitely you don't leave a game saying that was a major screw up by this guy. He doesn't. No. You virtually every game you can cite a major screw up by the team they're playing. This coaching screw up, and there was about 3 yesterday for Rivera. But this guy, he didn't know how much time was left or any. He did some stupid trick play that cost him the first down or something.
Yes.
None of that. So
you're right. The screaming at the TV factor is down.
Yes,
this year with the Vikings, which is probably goes away to explaining what they're up to this year. Let's shift to the Gophers for a little while, Patrick. Before I know we need to talk about a pretty serious boxing story from here too, as well as a couple other things. But they can't go back to 10 or more, can they? After on Saturday?
No, they can't. I mean, let's 10. They brought you back once. They stayed loyal once. You can't worry about him playing so many games in a row and what he's meant to the team, because he hasn't meant that much since 2019. Okay,
correct.
He hasn't been that good. You got to play the kid. You got to, because he can run out of the pocket, make some yards when they're trying to come after you, and you can run some of their action plays that they like to run before when they got to play the kid. Yeah, they do. And all of a sudden with Illinois losing to Michigan State at home, it could end up with a 4-way tie for first with 3 losses, and who knows how they figure out who goes to the Big Ten West. I mean, Purdue's been terrible for about 3 weeks in a row. Yeah. And, Illinois takes a terrible loss. Michigan State throws half their team off after the riot.
Right.
And then they go in there and beat them. And they only put up 15 points against a bad Michigan State team. So all of a sudden, okay, now what does carry a little bit is they better be ready to move the ball against Iowa, right? Because I mean, Iowa is awakened defensively for sure. So they're going to, 2 weeks from now, they won't be a rollover, and then you got to go to Madison.
Right.
But Northwestern somehow, I guess the wind was blowing 100 miles an hour or something in Northwestern when Ohio State was there. But they were ahead 7-0 with 4 minutes to go in the first half against Ohio State. I saw that score. I almost keeled over. And the Gophers, even with that, the Gophers are 17-point favorites on Saturday at home against Northwestern. So they're going to win that game. And
they should.
But they got to go with the quarterback change. That's for sure. And but the Nebraska is they got to be. We fired the coach. We spent all that money, and we still stink. And this isn't like you're bagging it for to get a higher draft choice either. I mean, I wonder, are there any good rumors on who they're going to hire? Because you were hearing Matt Campbell, and that team stinks now, Iowa State. So all of a sudden, he's not going to be a hot ticket. So I don't know who they're going to end up with as coach there, but it's got to be. I saw Lavelle went to the Lions bar to watch it with Nebraska fans. I talked to him on a Friday, the last time Nebraska was here, those people, and there were only about 20 of them in there, but they were still trying to believe in Scott Frost then. So,
I don't know what they're going to. Maybe not. Maybe don't hire an alum this time. I don't know what they're going to do though. They just. You would think, but how long has it been since they were really, really good? And like once you create enough of a gap, and we look at Minnesota football history, like they were, decades and decades ago, of course, as you know well, like they were national champions and all that. And then you go long enough where that's not the case anymore. And your history becomes irrelevant. So they got to turn it around fast. Otherwise,
break the bank and get Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
That's what I do. He'll win. He'll win.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any difference how you do it anymore. You can recruit anybody you want. You can NIL it. Now,
right.
He's probably having a good time in Ole Miss, but if you can get out of the SEC West, you're probably making a good move. And wasn't he there? Isn't that where he went to college? I thought it was
I can't remember.
Lane. I mean, and you wouldn't be getting him because he was an alum, because he wasn't such a great player, but that's where his daddy, came from. And he's sort of like hiring Eric Musselman, You're going to wonder kind of how he did it, but he's going to win. And that's the guy I'd get. I'd break the bank and go give him $8 million, $9 million a year with a lot of incentives and say, bring him in, baby. Let's go for this, because raising money for an NIL down in Nebraska, I think it'd still be pretty easy, don't you?
Oh, I would think so.
Every time they slaughter a cow, they'd send you some money. So didn't that used to be the deal? They donated cattle or some damn thing to the farm.
I don't know.
The farmers gave them, cows or something, and then
that's amazing.
They sold somehow back in the day. But one of their problems, and I've said this before, is, they used to be like Minnesota. They had these big old endless supply of farm boys who wanted to go play for the Huskers, who ended up being 6'4" and 305 pounds. Well, farmers don't have a bunch of kids anymore, and there aren't as many farms, and it's I don't know. They're it's amazing that what that's become. But the Gophers, that was another game you looked at and said, okay, they're down, but it's only 10-0. They played god awful.
Yes.
To get behind 10-0. I didn't watch it, but I kind of followed it and followed the comments on them. I was down at the cross country meet, but
sure.
Yeah, but you gotta give Gophers a little credit. They got off the deck. You thought that maybe after they lost those 3 in a row, and as terrible as they looked, that they might really collapse, but they haven't. So.
Lane Kiffin, by the way, just fact checking. He played at Fresno State. He was born in Lincoln, though.
Okay.
He was born in Lincoln.
I knew it. Yeah, his dad was coaching down there.
Yes.
So his dad, I think, played there too, didn't he? I think he was a really good player there, and then he started coaching there, I think, too. So Monty, I think Monty's still around. I think Monty's still around. So
I think so. Yeah, I think he is. He's let's see, what's Monty up to? I'm curious about that now. He was
got to be in his 80s.
Born February 1940. So yeah, he is 82 going on 83. And yeah, he played at Nebraska. Monty.
I always say, if you're older than me, you're old, baby. So
starting to feel that way too, Patrick.
Yeah. So anyway, they get Northwestern. Now I was surprised last time they were home against a bad team. They had a good crowd, and maybe they'll have a good crowd again against Northwestern.
Well, there's no reason. Something to play for, and now and then the 2 rivalry games at the end of the year. That's really going to tell you whether this was a year they salvaged or not. I mean, if they can,
please, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor. Don't rush the field if you beat Iowa.
No, this is not a field rushing worthy team.
These idiots are going to do it though. They'll rush the field if they beat Iowa. It's although I think the Big Ten after the what we had didn't we have not only the Michigan State incident, but didn't we have somebody punch a fan or something because they were running out on the field a couple of weeks ago, and the Big Ten send up some kind of a memo to not do that anymore. So
I think there was even a story about what Fleck does to make sure that doesn't happen with the players. So I don't know what would happen if they rush the field. Hopefully, calmer heads. Hopefully, they don't do it in the first place, because you're right. Yes. That is not a field rushing worthy team. You could, when they beat Penn State a couple years ago, sure, that was worth it. Go for it. Go nuts. We're not trying to diminish your joy, but maybe this isn't the team to to do
I
it
think,
against.
I think just like Kirk was being taunted by the Washington fans, I think Fleck was being taunted by the Nebraska fans too. Did they read that? And then
Yes.
and they both turn around and have to, devour the embarrassment of losing to their guys they were taunting. So,
and I think that the stat that they kept saying on TV was the Gophers had lost, I think, 32 games in a row, and they trailed by double digits at any point. So that was a turnaround. They're just not built to win. They're not built to come back. They're built for ball control, and they're built for they're built to grind it out and get a lead and kind of squeeze you to death. So to win like that, with backup quarterback coming in, gives you some juice, gives you some spark. Kalkmanis, he's got to be the guy the rest of the way. Just both from what he gives you now, and just to see what you got going forward too.
And wait till next year when we got 36-year-old Ottman Bell to catch passes from him.
Oh my goodness,
fantastic!
I know this. The eligibility
Grandpa
these days.
Bell will be back next year.
Yes, he'll be cashing Social Security checks as part of his NIL. He'll. Patrick, you mentioned to me, and I saw this on Sunday. Boxing card here over the weekend. It seemed like it was a pretty big night, and then all of a sudden some tragedy. What did you see when you were there?
The fighter, and boy, your boss Looney, he's from I'm pronouncing it wrong, but he's from Kazakhstan. He had only fought one time in the U.S. outside of his country. He was unbeaten. He was the designated challenger. What do they call him? The required challenger for this fight. I went to the weigh-in. He looked like just one of these rugged Far Eastern European boxers, and it started in Morrell. By the way, he's been around here, and he's for his first 6 fights he was training here, and then they sent him down to Houston and put him with this Ronnie Shields, and Ronnie is a tough old crusty trainer, and he got him in fantastic shape. He was, he's there's no baby fat on that kid anymore. He's a rock. And he's gotten much better with his hands. And anyway, he came out and just smacked him in the face for like 3 rounds. The guy was bloodied. The ring doctor got in, looked at him after the 3rd round, let him keep going. There was a little bit in the middle of the fight where he was doing some body work on Morrell, and he kind of hung in there for about 4 rounds. And then about the 9th round, it turned way back to Morrell again. And the 10th round, the guy was basically helpless. Should have been stopped right there. His corner, I don't know, the corner for the other fighter was like, it looked like they were different guys than he's usually worked with. I don't know. It didn't look like they were. I don't know what it was. But they should have thrown it. They shouldn't have let him get off the stool in the 10th round because he was basically defenseless. The ref should have done something. The ringside doctor should have done something. It was no longer a fight. Showtime guys they weren't saying stop it, but they were saying, okay, he's really not fighting back anymore. And then the 11th round was, really one-sided, but the 12th round, he knocked him down early in the 12th round. It could have been stopped then. And then he hit him with this right hand at the end after a flurry of punches that basically lifted the guy, just clean shot. And that stopped. And, that was the knockout, but there's only 30 seconds left. But when Morrell didn't have this big celebration, but you could see on the other side of the ring, the guy, when he got up, was holding onto the ropes, like leaning back, holding onto the ropes. And you kind of said, oh, look at that, man. He really knocked him out. Because you go to the fights and this is what you look for, right? I mean, the crowd was thrilled. Everybody was happy. And then all of a sudden you hear that he's at the end of the telecast, Showtime said that he had been taken to the hospital. And, HMC is right next door to HCMC is right next door. Yeah. And then yesterday we started I just checked yesterday in the middle of the afternoon, hadn't heard anything. I checked with somebody, and I said, did he get out of the hospital yet? And he said, the fellow said, no. He said, he's still in there. And then he sent me a link to Dan Raphael. Dan Raphael used to be ESPN's boxing guy. And I think they phased him out. So he's got his own website, but he's like, probably covers boxing better than anybody. And he put out there that he was in a coma.
Wow.
And then yes, and then he got confirmation. The promoters said would not give specific details, but the promoters said that they were, basically asked everybody to pray for him, or something like that. So, it's not good. I've heard some other things that I probably shouldn't repeat. So, but he's in trouble. I heard it was touch and go.
Wow.
And that would really be sad because they've really, they've turned this into they've created a boxing crowd, and they were going to have a card again December 17th with not Morrell wasn't going to be on it, obviously, but with a national fight among lightweights. Showtime and Premier Boxing and those people love this arena because it always looks full, and it's you get 5,000, 4,000, 5,000 people. It looks great, and if this fella doesn't make it or is severely injured, I wouldn't bet they're coming back here in 6 weeks. So for another fight, it's going to be it's a traumatic thing for the if the worst happens here, it's going to be a traumatic thing for morale, and all of a sudden the Minnesota, they don't even have a boxing commission anymore. It's Fighting Sports Commission, and
right.
But there are going to be a lot of people wondering why the fight wasn't stopped by either the doctor or the referee or the corner or somebody. And it's, that is out there right now, no matter what happens with this fella. But why wasn't the fight stopped? And, I don't know, because he was in trouble the last three, really, really in trouble the last 3 rounds. So, once the other guy, once you have no chance to win,
yes,
there's nothing wrong with having his corner stop the fight. There's no chance. There's no chance that this guy hasn't hurt him the whole fight, and he's not a one-punch fighter. By the end of the 10th round, there was no chance on earth that the Kazakhstan guy could win and stop the fight. So.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we'll certainly look for more updates on that as Monday and Tuesday go on. But definitely keeping him in our thoughts. Patrick, really quick before we go, I've been on record. I'm not a Astros enthusiast. I like Dusty Baker. That was a pretty good World Series, I would say. Some drama along the way. Game 5 was quite good, but I don't know. I don't like that the Astros won. They still bug me from everything with the cheating scandal. Maybe you
up, for God's sake.
No,
get over it. Who cares?
They're everything wrong with America, Patrick.
No, they are not.
Yes, they are.
They are not. They've been. In fact, it's a great comeback story because of all the crap that they took. They've come back the next 4 years and been great. It's nonsense. It's like people complaining about Big Ten hockey. Grow up. And if the Astros, to me, are admirable because they came back from this instead of having to, they showed that they are a excellent operation and an excellent team and an excellent champion, and go Dusty. That's what I say.
I like Dusty, but the rest of them can get out of the way.
There are only 5 of them left, for God's sake.
That's fine. So, they can go away forever. I don't care. I don't like the Astros. They're going to bother me forever. But I'm finally over Big Ten hockey, by the way. It took a while. Maybe in 5 years I'll be over the Astros as well.
Okay. All righty. Well, that's okay. That's it's fine for some guys to reach to his juvenile thinking every once in a while. I
I got to let something bug me. All right, Patrick. Well, we can talk more about it next week. Appreciate it. We'll see you then.
All right, sir.